1015 FM, 720 AM. KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. 1 full hour of wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's bring on the host. Here is Mark Hoke.
Hello. Good morning. Hi, Las Vegas. Hi, world. How are you? What's going on? It's another Sunday here in Sin City, and we are doing another edition of the Mark Hoke Show. I'm Mark Hoke. I'm the host. Hi. What's going on? Fish is just staring at me like, what the hell? Dude, this is about the best you're going to get out of me today. It was not a good weekend.
It happens.
Andrew Fish Fain sitting across from me here. Fish, how was your weekend?
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah?
Sure, why not?
Are you lying? You sound like you're lying.
Sure, why not?
You've got to... Oh, this is going to be a trifecta of grumpy, I can tell, because, of course, from future stars of wrestling here in Las Vegas, he oversees that whole operation down there, does an amazing job. Joe DeFalco is on the line. Joe, what's up?
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Another Sunday, NFL coming up.
Good morning, Joe.
How are you?
I think we've kind of established that it's a Sunday morning.
You know, you're better than me. You actually get there.
That doesn't make me better. It just makes you smarter.
No. Joe, you got to come in sometime and sit in the studio, though. We miss you.
Well, if you ever want a pre-tape, let me know. I'll be there.
Oh.
He's like Brock Lesnar.
I'm going to just warn everybody right now. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of sarcasm going on the show today.
Oh, I can already feel it. That draft really annoys me.
Oh, we are so going to talk about that. Fish was excited about the draft.
And I wasn't excited about it. That's the I was
and
interested.
You were coming to me for the last 3 weeks. Hey, the draft's coming up.
Yeah, I was interested to see who they were going to put where. It doesn't mean I was excited about it. It piqued my curiosity.
Oh,
it could be so much better. It's just, you know.
Well, we're going to tear the draft apart in a little bit. I want to start off with this week talking about the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. That's about how I felt, except worse. So let's break this one down. We, of course, Carmelo and Liv Morgan get shoved to the
pre-show.
The pre-show.
Shocking.
What's annoying is don't tell me that someone's going to be on a pay-per-view and then put them on a pre-show because that's not on the pay-per-view.
That's right. You wouldn't have bought it. Wouldn't have paid the $50.
I get Peacock for free. You get it with your Cox subscription here. Cox Cable. I guess I should have clarified that before you said it.
Yeah.
People actually still have cable?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I got the full package, baby.
I just learned how to pay like twice as much and don't have cable anymore.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
But Carmelo and Liv Morgan get moved to their kind of a weird ending. But Liv went over. I think we were all...
Yeah, we were all pretty much saying Liv was going to go over.
We all pretty much... I know I nailed all my picks. I hit it pretty hard. But Liv Morgan gets a nice win for her, so good for Liv. And
huge victory.
And then, well, I tell you, a loss would have killed her.
She's got a rocket ship on her back now.
Well, it'll be good to see if they can do something with Liv for once. An unannounced match then leads the pay-per-view off as the New Day takes on Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, and Omos. And let's see, Big E got the pin on Lashley. So after pinning Lashley clean twice, Lashley goes crazy. I want a title match, and gets it on Raw.
Well, very deserving after losing twice in a row.
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you deserve a title shot?
The match was a good match. It honestly may have been the best match on the card.
Oh, the 6-man tag?
Yeah. But, yeah, okay, great. So let's move on.
So, but and I know this is getting into something that you already talked about, and I agree with you. That chemistry between New Day obviously is always fantastic. Then why the hell they split them up again?
We'll get to the draft. We're gonna this draft might eat a whole show once we get to it. SmackDown Tag Team Championship: Usos against the Street Profits. Boy, I can't even talk today. Montez Ford. Oh, my ribs! They hurt me the other night. And predictably, it plays into the whole finish, and the Usos win.
Of course, but the Usos are over.
Yeah, not a bad match or anything, but that whole thing made it very, very predictable. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, dear God. I don't even know what to say, except I hope that this whole nightmare is over. Wasn't a bad match.
No, it was a great match itself.
The match was
itself
okay.
Was fantastic.
Match was okay. But at the end, Charlotte grabs Lily the doll, rips her to shreds, and we get 10 minutes of Alexa Bliss going crazy. And everybody, of course, forgetting to tell Alexa, if you're going to put an Alka-Seltzer in your mouth, you better have some water. Because in case you missed that, and when she's going through that whole flip out at the end, she's on the ramp, she's trying to drool and have this foam come out of her mouth. The Alka-Seltzer was on her tongue when she opened her mouth, and you could see it, and she kept trying to get that thing to foam up. It wouldn't do it. And
well, if she would have had Bray Wyatt backstage to help her, then it would have probably went by a lot smoother.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go.
Well, now she's been written off so she can get sinus surgery. So
yeah, so now we say goodbye to Alexa Bliss, and who knows what they're going to do with her when she comes back.
I wonder who she's getting drafted to.
Jeez. Oh, I'm trying not to get started on it. I really am. But we got to get through this. U.S. Championship match, Damian Priest against Sheamus and Jeff Hardy. And actually, Sheamus and Jeff Hardy were really good in this match. Damian Priest was fine. Jeff Hardy was over.
It seems to me, and I've been watching a lot of Damian Priest matches. Damian Priest seems, as good as he is, seems to miss a lot of spots.
He does. I don't know what it is, because like I said, when he was in ROH, I never saw that. But he was seems to me like he's in the same spot as when we were talking about Brian Pillman last week, where he's trying to find a style. They've put Damian Priest in a spot where they're trying to make him more aerial, and
because when he went against
he's
Sheamus,
a super athletic big man. He should just be brutalizing people.
When he went against Sheamus on Monday night, there were several spots that he missed. And I was like, "What are you?" And it's frequently happening, and it's right. It's almost like they're putting him in a position where he's going to miss the spots that he's trying to do.
Yeah, they're making him do things. Joe, what did you think of this stuff?
I've never been a big fan of his, and when he was in ROH, it was like, oh, he signed with WWE. They're not going to really do much with him. And then all of a sudden they gave him a big push in NXT. He must be a great dude because, there's so many talented guys, but for some reason he's slipped through the cracks. And, as often as I talk about Cross and Keith Lee, guys that you would think they would be much higher on, they're taking a guy who's like 42 years old who didn't have success until 5 years ago, to now all of a sudden, and he gets that push uninterrupted. There's no downtime like, hey, let's humble Cross and let's have him lose, and Keith Lee and all these dudes. Somebody in the right spots really like Damian Priest. They give him great matches to work, and he works great people, and then Jeff Hardy. Of course he's over. It's Jeff Hardy. Despite the fact how much that WWE tries to bury Jeff Hardy, it's kind of like what they did with Mysterio for a while. But now, thankfully, his son has helped rejuvenate his career.
Oh, there you go. So then we move on to the SmackDown Women's Championship match between Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair, where Sasha Banks shows up and beats up everybody.
Told you it'd last longer than 20 seconds. I was right on.
Yes, you were correct on that, sir. I think we kind of had that one. But Sasha Banks comes back, and now we got a triple threat coming up
at some point in the very near future.
So
But they will be for the Raw Women's title as opposed to the SmackDown Women's title.
Jesus.
Well, at least they have when Sasha doesn't lose, at least they have Bianca Belair there to, take the pinfall again.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Do you hear the stuff that we're having to say? It's just making my head spin. It's unreal what they've...
But how about that draft?
Oh, my God. Well, how about that Roman Reigns Demon Finn Balor match?
The match was actually solid at the beginning, and then it went off the rails.
Oh,
Well, the biggest mystery is, was it deliberately cut? Were we supposed to see the camera guy that it's
They
been
cut the
leaked
rope.
out?
Yeah.
So what happened, for those that didn't see this, Roman Reigns, Finn Balor having a pretty good match. Usos come out because they can. It's an Extreme Rules match. Everybody's all laid out on the floor. Roman Reigns spears Finn Balor through a barricade, which was a great spot, by the way. Looked really good.
Yeah, it did.
And while everybody's lying out, we're all dead. Everybody's dead. Boom, boom. Bray Wyatt's light comes. The red light comes on, and all of a sudden, as you hear the boom, 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 Finn Balor starts going into these convulsions. Finn's alive again. The demon is risen, and he's destroying everybody. Gets Reigns back in the ring.
Goes up top for the coup de grace.
Goes to the top rope. Smoke is flying around. It's kind of a little hard to see what's going on a little bit. And the top rope snaps. Finn Balor falls off. He's hurt his knee. Reigns spears him. Match over.
And now there's video of the cameraman cutting the rope. Which I agree with Joe. I don't know if we're supposed to see the cameraman cutting the rope or not.
I highly doubt it.
I think the idea originally was not, but I think now they may play with it that the cameraman is because everyone's seen it. They're gonna have to bring it into the story that the cameraman was part of the bloodline or something.
I have a theory. I think it was Rikishi. He did it for the bloodline. So.
Yes.
That would be funny. I'll give you that. But what a stupid finish. What a stupid finish. And now you've not only done another dumb finish where we had to put up with it with Bray Wyatt for so long. Now you've destroyed Finn Balor and his demon persona. That's over.
Oh, what do you mean? They protected him by doing that.
You think so?
No, absolutely
There
not.
we go. Thank you.
I don't think anybody cares. It's not it's like after the fact. It's like with our guys, when people lose, it's like, yeah, but we're going to protect you. It's like at the end of the day, it's all going to be forgotten about other than the fact that he lost.
Yeah, that's a good point. Unless
it's like the greatest match of all time and you want to put over, when, Austin and Bret Hart, and that's what made Steve Austin, and what a brutal match. And even though he lost, they made him. That's a once in a lifetime moment when the random matches of Raw, and but the reason why he lost was because of interference. Nobody remembers. Nobody cares. They just remember he lost.
Yeah, it's a shame.
But who in their right mind is sitting there? And it can't all be on Vince going, it'd be great if we cut the top rope so the demon could fall.
I will bet that was all on Vince. I'll bet that was all on Vince.
I don't think it was a horrible idea, but if it was, it should, kind of like, Harvey Whippleman was the camera guy, and that's why The Undertaker beat Hulk Hogan, and they took the flash of the camera, and it's like, well, if they're going to, have somebody come in, if they were going to do a Demon versus the Fiend feud, which would have been, interesting, that could have been a reason why. But I think that rumor that I had heard from my card guy about Bray Wyatt returning and it all being work, I think he's being worked.
Yeah, that's very possible. But here's my overall impressions from Extreme Rules. I felt bad for the wrestlers. I really did. Because they all worked. I thought everybody worked as hard as they could. I thought that they all did a decent job. It wasn't the matches, it was the writing that ruined this pay-per-view. I can't, when, if your boss says this is what I want you to go out and do, and you do it to the best you can. And I think everybody did that, but it's just some bad finishes, some weird stuff, the too sports entertainment-y again. And, I think everybody walked away from Extreme Rules saying, I'd really like my 2.5 hours back.
Yeah, I think that the problem is they're looking past Extreme Rules to, hey, Crown Jewel's coming up. We got to make this the show because it's an international pay-per-view in Riyadh. We have this huge contract with Saudi Arabia. So the WWE itself is more worried about how good that's going to look, so they can't ruin anything for that by giving anything away at Extreme Rules.
Yeah.
Well, I heard ticket sales are light, so they're trying to get all the Americans, especially the women, to fly over to Saudi Arabia to buy some tickets for it.
Well, yeah, but basically Extreme Rules becomes a throwaway pay-per-view.
Well, it always has been. The thing is, unfortunately, most of them are. Even WrestleMania has become a throwaway pay-per-view.
Never really thought of it that way.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
You can see it, you're going to see the rematch next Monday or Friday on Raw and SmackDown after the guy finally won and had his WrestleMania moment.
Yeah. So then we came back to Raw, and a pretty good Raw. Bobby Lashley, Big E having a couple of good matches.
I don't know if I need the Hurt Business to get back together. At least no explanation why all of a sudden Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, who just hated each other a few months ago, are now best friends again.
They didn't hate each other. They both blame the other guy for the reason the Hurt Business broke up. You didn't see that part in the storyline.
Yeah, but it's the Hurt Business was one they should have never broke up in the first place.
No, I
thought that
agree.
was the best thing that was going on Raw in a long time, and it's good to have them back.
Always,
but it
always
doesn't make
need
sense.
good factions. Got to always have them.
Yeah,
I still think but it misses MVP.
yeah, and he'll get back soon. But Goldberg, by the way, threatened to kill Bobby Lashley. We had a lot of violence threatened this week in wrestling. Oh, between that and Arn Anderson, that was pretty interesting. Then let's get to the draft. Oh, jeez. Oh, my head hurts.
I'm going to tell you what I hate about the draft.
Good. I'll let you go first, Joe. And then
what I hate about the draft is that there's a lot of good movement. Like it should be a big deal that Drew McIntyre is moving. But do we have to have a draft pick to where the guy's staying exactly where he is? That's like the most annoying thing, because what ends up happening is after the shows are over, you got to go on the website or whatever it is that they have these different ideas of like, oh, well, these 6 guys moved. Well, how about not worrying that Seth Rollins didn't move? Like, why does he have to get drafted to the same brand he's on? And it just becomes time. It should be a big deal, the guys that are leaving. And it really isn't. It's like they lump everybody together, and it's just like it just dragged the entire process over.
Well, here's my big problem with the draft, and just I'll just run down what happened on SmackDown, and then we had some more draft picks afterward. It went Raw got Big E. They went in this order. Raw's draft picks were Big E, Bianca Belair, RK Bro, Edge, Rhea Ripley, and Nikki ASH. Were together. Keith Lee, Rey and Dominic Mysterio, Austin Theory.
That's Keith Bearcat Lee.
The Bearcat. Sorry. SmackDown. Roman Reigns, Charlotte Flair, the Raw Women's Champion, gets drafted over to SmackDown. Drew McIntyre, New Day gets drafted over to SmackDown, so the New Day is split up again. Happy Corbin and Madcap Riddick Moss are drafted.
Madcap Moss, are you kidding me?
Hit Row gets drafted up from NXT. Naomi is a top pick. And Jeff Hardy. Those were the first round of picks on SmackDown. Then during Talking Smack, Raw picks up, gets drafted, drafts Nia Jax, Doudrop, Zelina Vega, she switches. John Morrison, Reggie, yeah, I'm so excited about the 24/7 champ. R-Truth, Drake Maverick, T-Bar, Tozawa, Alpha Academy, they switch, and Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz Somehow they're a faction. They get drafted
Wow.
together.
Who missed the boat? Damian Priest wasn't even a top 10 draft pick.
And neither was Bobby Lashley. He hasn't been drafted yet.
And now
Guys from NXT are drafted. It's supposed to be in order.
We're
like, hey, the 4th round draft pick. So that's why it's unrealistic. If you're not moving, don't do anything. It makes it look stupid.
I'm holding back. We're almost done. Tony Storm, Aaliyah gets pulled up from NXT. Mace, Drew Gulak, they switch, as does Mustafa Ali and Mansoor. All those go over to SmackDown. Joe, you are so right. Here is my big problem with the draft. If you, let's say Fish and you are drafting for Raw and SmackDown, right? Is Happy Corbin in your top 5? Just tell me, Fish, is Happy 25. Corbin in your top 5?
But they have to do it. They have to do it over 2 shows because otherwise Raw is going to say, hey, you can't have the big draft on SmackDown and not let us have a part of that. So they have to keep some of the people back. If you want to do it right, you go a Wednesday 2-hour special, nothing but a draft. Here's our draft, and then you can do it in order. If you're going to do it to split it over 2 shows, you cannot have all the good guys taken on the first show because no one's going to give a crap about the second one.
Keep it, you can keep it to a minimum on SmackDown and then expand it on Raw, something. But I just look at this and you see the people that didn't get picked, and it doesn't make any sense. This is, once again, it's about suspending reality. And it used to be when they did the draft, they would do that in order. And you would, you'd have retaliatory picks, just like if you were doing a draft in anything. If you're doing a fantasy football draft and, you take Tom Brady, man, I better have gotten Drew Brees on that next pick, or I'm going to be screwed. This doesn't make any sense.
The other thing is, at least do it like the NHL. Okay, I'm protecting my heavyweight champion, and Roman Reigns can't go anywhere, and I get to protect 4 people.
Right, like a rule, and like the Rule 5 draft
like a draft.
Yeah,
like a reason for the draft. Tom Brady doesn't go in the draft. He was the quarterback for New England. He doesn't get possibly drafted. It's like, it's just so stupid.
The problem becomes that they've used the wrong terminology because it's not really a draft, and that's not what they should call it. Because it really isn't a draft. You're right. But the problem, like I said, is they have to have those big names be able to go on both shows, both on SmackDown and on Raw. That's why Bobby Lashley wasn't taken on Friday night, because he's a big enough name that you're going to tune into Raw to see where he's going to end up. If you're only going to find out where Mansoor and Ali are on Raw, no one's going to care.
If you...
nobody cares about the show anyway, but...
That's a good point.
there needed to be something like, okay, here's the pool for X night. Here's the pool for this night. Draft out of this group. Then we can draft out of this group. Something along those lines. But the way they're doing it doesn't make any sense.
They should have a draft special on a Wednesday where there is no show. And NXT should be a part of the draft. If you're going to draft people from NXT should be able to draft people as well.
That's right. They go head-to-head with Dynamite, and then they could say, see, our draft beat the show. How good is AEW?
Yeah, this whole draft concept and the way they do it. I was at a draft when they did it here in Las Vegas at Smack. I believe it was SmackDown I was at. Yeah, and you just sit there like, this doesn't make it. There's no coherence as to what they're doing. Just none.
Imagine being there live has got to be the worst. It's like, geez.
And why the hell does Sonya Deville have all this power now? By the way.
God bless her.
Because Paige isn't around.
Okay.
Well, we do have to get ready to head into a little bit of a commercial break. But as much complaining as I did about this draft, I have a solution. And I'm going to present it to you guys when we come back. See what you think. Because you know what? That's the way I like to do it. Stick around. We've got more to come on the Mark Hoke Show. We'll try and get into a little bit of Seth Rollins, who said some interesting things on the Broken Skull sessions. We got a new TNT champ, and we got some new creative control over at AEW. Yikes. So stick around. We'll have more for you on the Mark Hoke Show when we return.
1015 FM, 720 AM. KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
Hey. Welcome back to the Mark Hoke Show on 1015 FM, 720 AM, KDON here in Las Vegas. And for those of you listening around the world, we certainly do appreciate it. By the way, we picked up a couple new countries that have downloaded podcasts, guys. You ready? We welcome the Italians.
Molto bene.
That's awesome. And the United Arab Emirates. They're listening to us in Dubai. So thanks to all of you, because as you know,
send us some money, because they're very rich over there.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I was going to say, let them know Future Stars of Wrestling be more than happy to head over to Dubai. Send me a cashier's check, and we'll bring the Future Stars over there.
And instead of the crown jewel, you could have the headpiece diamond.
Nice. There you go.
Sort of like the cash in the case.
I think
what are you talking about? I don't understand what that means.
It'd be a great match in Dubai, by the way. Have you seen the world's deepest pool that they build over there?
I have not.
That they build a building? Oh my God, I forgot how deep that thing runs. But it is unreal. Could you imagine having a match where you throw somebody into that pool? Because it's a long way down, that's for sure. Ooh. All right, so here is
Shane McMahon would do it.
Oh, yes, he would. Absolutely. Man, put the boys in some scuba gear and let them go. Here is my solution to WWE's problems with all this. All right?
Better writing.
That's going to help. But this is what, if it were me that I was given the reins. Brian Alvarez was saying, why are we even doing a draft? Why do we have a brand extension? And I tried not to watch that because I knew that would kind of overlap a little bit with what I was going to say, but I did. And he kind of went off about why can't we just have everybody together? And this is what I would do. I would take your world champion and universal champion, unify that title, right? Then you've got the Intercontinental title, you've got the U.S. title. Those roam among your 3 shows. Remember, you've got 3 shows, right?
205, you mean?
No, I'm talking NXT.
Main event?
No, but you change NXT, so it's not a developmental show anymore, and you split everybody up evenly between Raw, SmackDown, and whatever you call. We'll just call it All-Star Wrestling. And then you have one World Tag Team Championship. For the women, you have a world title and an intercontinental title, which would create some buzz. You can have championships on the shows, which gives you about the same amount of belts that you had before. And now you've elevated your top titles, and those guys roam through the shows. Your younger guys are split up with different veterans, so they can all work together. You have flexibility that if you want to shuffle a couple guys around, you can. But you've now put everybody under one umbrella instead of having everybody split up. You've raised the prestige of your major titles, and it kind of comes out like the territory days a little bit. Roman Reigns, if he's the WWE champion, he can show up one night on Raw, or he can be challenged on SmackDown. You could run things through storylines through all 3 shows if he wanted to, instead of keeping it separate and doing all these stupid rematches and everything else, and have a lot of fun with it. What do you guys think?
It always should have been that way. The champion's the champion. It's like you have Night of Champions, and you still have to leave off 6 matches.
Yeah, I think that if you take away segregating these guys formally like you do, now you would still be keeping certain people on certain shows. But to me, like the NXT concept now, I got no time. Why am I watching developmental wrestlers when I can watch all these other shows that AEW and WWE present? Plus you got other ones with Impact, MLW, and so on. Why would I take time to watch NXT? Well, now this other show, now I've got a reason to watch it. Especially if you're smart and you do good storylines. Imagine the bloodline
but that's
running
the problem.
rampant through all these shows.
They don't do good storylines. That's the problem.
So...
Well, they can. They did with Roman Reigns for a while. You know, the thing is, you made a point earlier, like, well, who's going to watch the draft to see where Mansoor went? It's like, well, who's going to watch the match that Mansoor is in?
Yeah.
Why is it any different? It's like, oh, he's on. It's like, so there's an argument between USA and what's going on, because on Raw, John Cena's there, and on SmackDown, he's not. And it's like, well, he's one of the most popular wrestlers of all time. Why wouldn't you want him on both shows instead of having Mason T-Bar on?
You're right. Well, they did wise up, and they did that with Brock Lesnar. Exactly. That's what, ironically, that's what his promo was about. That thanks to Paul Heyman, he's a free agent. So that means he's going to show up on Raw and he's going to show up on SmackDown.
Yeah, but you
want to make more money and you want to talk about budget cuts. Well, get rid of 30 of those guys that are just taking up space on television, and have Brock Lesnar work on both shows, have Roman Reigns work on both shows, have Drew McIntyre work on both shows. Instead they got 30 marginal guys working on one show, and then they got another 30 marginal guys working on the other show, and then they wonder why nobody cares. It's pretty simple.
And the reason that I suggest lumping everybody together, and you can take some of those guys that you're developing, and I don't want to say use them as jobbers, but if you do like what AEW does, where the young guys will lose but look good, you're building stories for those guys. You're working their way up. And I know, Joe, you said something about that last week where you like to see where people work their way up the ladder. Well, now these guys, you have somebody who you're bringing in who is a little bit raw. Maybe, you don't want to really do something like that with Braun Breaker. But there's a lot of guys that they have on, and women that they have on that roster that need to get some experience. And you're going to give them a mentoring opportunity, a really good mentoring opportunity, because they're going to be working on the same shows with these top stars. And then when you do your live shows as well, you can send out whoever you want whenever you want. You don't have to say, well, we're going to have a SmackDown show here, we're going to have a Raw. You can mix it up and have the flexibility that you're going to need.
There should be just WWE. I mean,
yeah.
In a sense, that's what AEW is doing with Rampage and Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
They're not separate
and they're YouTube shows too.
Right, they're not separate shows. Everyone's wrestling on every show.
Yeah, I mean,
right. Well, of course. Why wouldn't you want CM Punk on both shows or Bryan Danielson? Like, you're going to make a decision to watch one or why not watch the other. If Danielson and Punk are feuding on Dynamite and not Rampage, it makes no sense for them to not be there. Like Austin Theory, awesome talent. I remember people asking me about booking him when he was 17 years old because he was that good, 18 years old. And it's like, okay, well, now he's drafted. Well, what are they going to do with him? Well, they're going to probably have him squash, a Mansoor in 2 minutes. Or like when Cross came back and he beat somebody up, I don't remember who it is, in like a minute and a half. And it's like, I don't know. How many of those matches can you have? Keith Lee, they probably should have put him in the Hurt Business. At least it would have gave him something.
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. So you guys like my idea?
Well, I think they should have went with that a long time ago. So I guess I do because, I've not understood why they've done it.
Right. I think the only thing, if you're right, the only thing that should be exclusive to each brand is the U.S. title to one and the Intercontinental title to the other.
Well,
that way you could have that way you could have a Raw belt and a SmackDown belt.
But you can still have a belt for each of the shows.
But that's
which
what
gives you the same amount of titles that you've got right now.
Yeah.
Do they still have the women's tag titles?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH, which, by the way, needs to just go back to Nikki Cross.
And are they on both brands? Do they have separate titles?
No, there's one women's tag team title.
That should be floating between all of them. Why did they get drafted to Raw? There's another thing that was another thing with the draft. Why did you draft the women's tag team champions? Unless you think they're going to lose and you're trying to... But that made no sense.
Because in the eventuality that they lose the belt, which is a good eventuality, then they will have a home show to go back to.
Right. But why draft them now? But that, so...
That'd be a waste of a draft pick.
It's a huge waste of a draft pick. I'd rather drafted Becky Lynch. But that's just me. So there you go. I solved WWE's problems. Vince, give me a call, and I'll fix your company.
555-5612. That's
1-800-HOKAMANIA. There we go. All right, so let's get to some other stuff that happened. Seth Rollins was on the Broken Skull sessions.
Which, by the way, that's a very well done show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got a little more respect for Seth Rollins after that show. I didn't realize just what he went through to get where he was going. And the thing that caught everybody's attention the most was saying he wanted to strangle Vince McMahon after the match with the Hell in the Cell match with Bray Wyatt. That was a fascinating story. And to hear Seth say, we didn't want to do that. Vince insisted on it. I came back. We had a stare down. I wanted to kill him. We all knew the match stank. And, but Seth managed to rebuild and go from there. What did you guys think of some of the stuff Seth Rollins said on that show?
The fact that he said he might leave in 3 years is pointless. All it is letting people know that, hey, I got another option, but if you give me more money, I got 2-3 years. Didn't he say it was 2024?
Yeah, I think he said when his kid's like 3 or 4 years old.
It's like, okay, when your contract's up in 6-8 months, make people aware of it. You got 3 years left on the contract. Who cares?
Yeah, don't make Vince mad.
It's a story to tell, and it's like, I'm getting paid $1 million a year. Now I want to get paid $1.5 million because I may jump ship. And it's like, well, in 3 years, is there a ship to jump to?
Yeah, and be careful what you say in social media and things like interviews, because Kevin Owens paid the price for that. He got Happy Corbin.
He is getting buried worse than AJ Styles versus The Undertaker.
Yeah. What are you talking about? They protected him. It took interference for him to lose.
Yeah,
they were protected.
Okay.
Now, you really think this is Kevin Owens getting buried for the Mount Rushmore tweet?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He don't care. Now he gets to sit home and collect his money.
Yeah. Also, a couple of things that happened. Dynamite and Rampage, we have a new TNT champion as Miro went a little crazy ripping some turnbuckles off, and Sammy Guevara takes advantage and wins the AEW title.
FSW alumni right there.
TNT title, excuse me. Yeah, and what do you think about Sammy taking over as the TNT champ?
I like Sammy. I think it's a good character move, and I think it's a good move for AEW.
Joe, what'd you think about Sammy winning that belt?
I like Guevara, but I just felt they could have did so much more with with Miro. Like, he's kind of come in, and it's like, I don't know. I'm just not enthralled with his character, and I thought he had built a lot with the WWE character, and I don't even think it's transcended over to AEW. It's like, yeah, he's won some matches, and he's done some things, and beat my boy Lance Hoyt, Archer, whatever. But I just think they did, it gets to the point sometimes where these guys, they just move the belt to move the belt. And believe me, title changes are a big deal. It gives you that big pop, and it's a good thing to do. But I thought it was out of nowhere that Guevara won the belt.
I would agree with you on that. And one thing to me that, I really liked what Miro was doing. Once they got him away from Kip Sabian and all that nonsense that was going on, and gave him, kind of put him in the Redeemer character, and just letting him tear people's heads off like he should be. I was pretty impressed with what Miro was doing. And it's going to be interesting to see where they take him at this point. But
he'll be heading over to AEW Dark for 8 months, and they have to repackage and figure what they're, going to do with him. What I'm interested in is how much love Will Hobbs is getting over Cornette and all these other people, like a future WrestleMania main eventer. I was like, wow.
Yeah, Powerhouse Hobbs is, getting a lot of, like I say, looked good against CM Punk when he wrestled him last week. Certainly Hobbs is on the way. But I tell you, I wish I would have loved to see a Hobbs Cage tag team stay together.
He's a
really
dude who used to hit me up all the time about trying to come down to Vegas and get booked, and it was like, super nice guy, but he was pretty green still, and to me, he kind of still is. Maybe I'm thinking of the same guy from 3 years ago, but, he does look magnificent, and, he's the guy that's kind of started at AEW Dark, and he's kind of like fit right in. And like I said, who would have thought that Hobbs would have a role and Brian Cage wouldn't?
Yeah, I agree, and I hope they figure something out with Cage, because I really do like Cage a lot. But some people that won't be making the decisions for what they'll be doing, well, the executive vice presidents, Cody Rhodes and Kenny May, Young Bucks, have been pushed out of creative control. Tony Khan has taken over and said, "I'm doing the booking now. Thanks, guys. We'll listen to you. Well, I'll hear what you have to say."
He's also,
but Tony Khan is now officially the
guy,
man,
and the guy deciding on who to bring over to AEW and who not to. And the room right now,
unofficially, he was. That's what I know of. You know, I've had some conversations with people there, and the buck went through Tony. Now, yeah, sure, guys like Jericho and the Young Bucks and Cody kind of had free reign of what they did, and I'm gonna say that they probably still kind of do, but you know, you always need that one guy, especially the one writing the checks. You know, they're still hanging out after the shows, drinking and partying with the boss. So,
with the amount of time that they've been in the ring, we are now calling them the Bucks.
What do we call them? Do we call them the Middle Bucks?
Yeah, no, I think just the Bucks. They're no longer the Young Bucks. They're not the old Bucks. They're just the Bucks.
The Bucks?
You know, new Kids on the Block became NKOTB for a while because, you know, they didn't want that new.
So maybe we'll call them YB.
Or Young.
Oh, dear Lord. They are going to have to do something about that at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they get in their 40s, it's like, not really young anymore.
No. The middle-aged Bucks.
It's kind of elky.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Well, just to make all of this go even worse than what it could possibly be, we all know what time it is.
Because we like to make our guests squirm and suffer, let's put them through the toughest grind in professional wrestling. Get ready, everyone. It's time for the Snapcall.
I'm going to make no promises on this one. I wrote this in pain today, so just be ready. For those that have not heard the snap call before, I'm going to ask the boys a series of questions, give them a few options, and pick your favorite answer.
You wrote it today?
Yeah.
So when did you do it? Got up at like 3 in the morning to write it?
No, I'm so good at this. I can get it done in an hour. No problem with everything. I was generally prepared for the show today, believe it or not. Just couldn't find my car keys, but that's another story. All right, so let's fire away here. Let's start with what we were talking about, Miro. Let's go there. If Miro doesn't go back to taking on Sammy after losing the TNT Championship, who would you most like to see him take on? Kenny Omega, Wardlow, or Pac? Fish.
I think I'd rather see him take on Pac.
I think it'd be a great match. Joe?
I'm going to say Wardlow.
That would be brutal.
Pac, he should be challenging for the title.
That bastard Pac.
He's not, so.
Yeah, Pac. God, they got to figure something out with Pac. He's just too good. The
man that gravity forgot.
Yes, that's right.
I'd like to see Miro and Brian Cage. That'd be some good stuff.
That'd be some good stuff, too. I agree. Who wants a refund the most after this week's wrestling action? Finn Balor from the Ring Setup team, Jungle Boy and Roman Reigns from their Athletic Cup salesmen. They both took some nasty shots to the huevos. Or everyone who suffered through Extreme Rules. Fish?
Everyone who suffered through Extreme Rules.
Didn't even think twice about that, Joe.
Yeah, that's a simple one.
Yeah, but why don't these guys wear cups? That would solve the problem, man.
Harder to move?
I've never seen wrestlers wear cups, to be honest with you.
Well, if somebody's going to give me a nutmeg, I'm going to wear a cup,
I guess, but I've never noticed that in, the locker room, somebody talking about their cup. So
their cup runneth over.
Oh, dear Lord. Or gets helicoptered, whatever. Fish lost more money on the sports betting this weekend, I'm sure. What's his punishment? Cage match with Sabu? Submission match with Bobby Lashley? Or he has to watch all of the WWE Draft segments over and over again for 24 hours. Joe?
Yeah, anything to do with watching the draft has to win.
I'd rather take a submission from Bobby Lashley.
I think you are right, sir.
Put me in the Hurt Lock, please.
The show just picked up listeners in Italy and the United Arab Emirates, as we mentioned earlier.
Yay.
What hit location would be the neatest one to get? It's going to make all of us giggle. Vatican City, Tuvalu, which is a little bunch of islands that are between Queensland and Hawaii.
We're really big in the Pope.
So, yeah, so we're like that's in the ocean. Or Antarctica. Fish.
Oh, the little islands. Are you kidding me? We can find a new Tonga kid over there, and yeah.
Joe.
I like Antarctica. It would be the first time they'd ever have a show, period. So it would be like,
that's a good point.
World records.
That was the only place continent I didn't get on my other show. I did not get anybody from Antarctica. I want Antarctica.
We got to be big in the South Pole.
Oh, we got to get a penguin or something down there.
Penguin who likes to peck at the show.
If Joe DeFalco could be revived by lighting and sound effects like Finn Balor was, what would work best? You ready? Red and blue swirling lights with a siren effect, a very dim lava lamp style light and sound effects from Pornhub, or green lights with the sound of a cash register.
I'm not going first. I'll let Joe go first.
No. Joe gets to answer the second. You got to go first.
I'm going to go with the lava lamp and the Pornhub sounds.
I'm busy watching the secondary feed of the NFL, but I heard cash registers, so that's got to be the right one.
That's what I was thinking. There you go, boys. There's your snap call. Nice job. What?
I got nothing.
Thank you?
I got nothing.
Congratulations?
Congratulations.
All right, great.
We're big in the United Arab Emirates and in Italy.
I've always had this thing. A buddy of mine, Stu Stone, he makes movies and stuff, but he was a wrestling manager, and he was always talking about we were trying to get to Bangladesh to run a show.
That would be cool. That'd be a little scary. I don't know.
Don't ride the bus there. Isn't that a place where they have like 8 million people hanging off the trains and things?
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of those types of shows, Dubai and things like that. My boy Chris Masters and a lot of those guys go there, even Brian Cage recently. They pay big money for shows that feature like American talent that used to work for WWE. I'll tell you, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of money over there, man. And they just build things. They want to build the world's biggest, tallest, whatever. I mean, everything. It's
so maybe we should do our show there. We could be the world's biggest, tallest wrestling show.
Not going to work
as long
for
as
me,
the
man.
great Khali showed up, I'm in.
Speaking of stuff going on overseas, by the way, we kind of wrap it up with, did you guys get to watch Dark Side of the Ring this week?
I did not. What episode was it?
Titled Blood and Wire, Onita's FMW, which was Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling.
I didn't even see anything about it on Facebook.
You know, it didn't catch a lot of
That's because Ric Flair didn't get in trouble for this one.
Yeah, but boy, I'll tell you what. I remember those, hearing about those death matches, like when Terry Funk went over there and so on.
Right.
But man, when you see all the crazy stuff that they did, like the ring that they did the Ring of the Fire match that everybody that got so hot in the ring that everybody bailed out, but the Sheik didn't quite make it out in time and got burns on 60% of his body, and what Onita was putting himself through. Good.
Well worth
Lord.
that payday.
Oh. But and
we have a pay-per-view called Extreme Rules. It just seems ridiculous.
It was. You want to see extreme.
They got hit with 2 chairs. That's how extreme it was.
Yeah, FMW was something else. And Joe, one thing that I'm curious, because you do your training at Future Stars of Wrestling, how do you talk about getting ready for matches that are so specialty like that and so violent with where you're taking barbed wire on the ropes and all that kind of crazy things on fire?
We've never gotten that crazy, but we've been working when they were in town with GCW a lot, and one of our guys, Cutthroat Cody, who's been with us since day one, it was his dream to get in the ring with Nick Gage. And, the idea of them planning, like, because of the smallness of the arena, that we didn't feel comfortable having light tubes broken over people's heads with the fans 7 feet away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And believe me, there was a lot of preparation on getting outside and fighting in the back. And, you know, these guys are adamant about carving each other up. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it was crazy seeing the matches that Anita came up with, electrified pools and just unreal. But they had a huge following. They really did.
I want to do an electric eel match. I think that'll be cool.
Ooh, I like the sound of that. That I could get behind.
Could you get away with that in the FSW arena?
Yeah, we just got to, you know anybody who can build me an aquarium?
There's a few guys in town that I think are pretty good at it.
There you go. You know, so they could wrestle in like 3 feet of water.
Did you really say that, Fish?
Yes, I did.
That was horrendous.
What did he say?
I said you could say tanks for the memories.
Yeah. Boy, that's how we're going to end it on that note.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Brutal.
Unbelievable.
Okay, it was brutal.
Yeah.
I can't defend it.
Follow Fish on Twitter at thefish1969, Joe and Future Stars Wrestling at fswvegas.com. You can follow us at Mark Hoke Show on Twitter, The Mark Hoke Show on Facebook. We've also, of course, got our podcast, markhokeshow.podbean.com. Go back and listen to all the old shows. We're also up on YouTube, Mark Hoke Show. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next week on The Mark Hoke Show. Enjoy your Sunday.